I am still trying to wrap my mind around this, but I keep getting told that top-Wiki's user base is 97% female, whereas WikiLeaks and Wikipedia is about 80-90% male. So it's like the female counterweight, top-Wiki. And so I thought I'd talk to you just for a tiny bit about as I'm seeing like top-Wiki's content popping up on the internet, being pulled off my Facebook page and starting to be used in scientific articles. I thought I would talk to you about how we develop an idea value hierarchy chain as a group. So the internet's really cool right now with WikiLeaks and Wikipedia. Now top-Wiki, coolest thing ever invented. Users are now producers and producers are now users. It's a totally new phenomenon in the history of our species. And understanding it is, a major part of the multifactorial equation. So how do we develop an idea value hierarchy chain? Well, they say that human thinking is basically just a process of matching patterns or pattern match recognition. And that's supposedly 80 to 90% of all we're doing when we're engaged in thinking. So if we hear think big, pattern match big, or pattern match big picture, or think big picture, thinking is pattern match recognition, or cognition is pattern match recognition, 80 to 90%. But what's interesting is the 1 or half of 1% priming that leads to pattern match recognition probably matters more than everything else. So it's like, so you spend half of 1% of your life getting primed to pattern match, but actually accounts for almost everything you ever pattern match after that, even though 80 to 90% of the process itself is matching patterns. So if I were to choose the symbol E as being up there in the top 5 or top 20 list in terms of most important symbols for every child on Earth to learn, to be able to collaborate with every other child on Earth, to solve that huge problem that WikiLeaks or Wikipedia has. Whereas there's millions of new articles a day, it's in 285 languages or 500. Does that allow the poorest girl in Africa to be able to compete directly head to head with the richest boy in North America, or be able to collaborate directly with the richest boy in North America? And the answer now is no. top-Wiki solves that problem. And that's the point. It helps bring intellectual equality, economic equality, gender equality. Thanks for popping that back up. So confirmation bias, power of suggestion, and goal orientation are the other aspects of top-Wiki. And so, in terms of priming, how do we choose which concepts or symbols or clusters of symbols to use for priming? And I certainly don't have all the answers for that. I have way more questions than I have answers. But my very best guess, my amateur expert opinion, best guess, is if we choose the current most popular symbols or equations, such as Newton's second law of motion, then basically we can work that into a framework. So we're like, well, what the heck do we teach Sohi and Souhan, my daughters, in the poorest Asian country? And I've sat in their empty classrooms, and there's like a chicken pecking at my foot, and a goat next to me, and there's no roof. And I'm thinking about my sister Shanae saying she was raised in miserable poverty, and I'm thinking like, wow, no, this is extreme poverty, literally, technically, by the UN definition. And I'm like, well, what are they learning? And if they're what? And so basically, I thought, what would I teach my daughters to give them the ability to directly collaborate with me? Military scientists, university scientists, other children of every other country. And I thought, we got to be a little bit imperialistic here and use the English language. Just like the United Nations has 6 official languages, French, Chinese, Arabic, English, Spanish, and Russian. They do that because it gets to the point with like Wikipedia where if we have 285 languages, it gets to the point where it's like the Tower of Babel in the Bible, where it's like nobody can really collaborate with anybody on anything to advance science. So my best guess is that we have to reduce it to like native language, English language, and just to throw in my very best or what I consider common sense, I would say the native language of the country next to the country. That way there's at least like one sort of natural collaborative partner. So, for example, I would have the version of top-Wiki as a hardback book in Cambodia and English, so we can talk about Newton's force equation and then extrapolate it out into, we get like, how do we get force, something that's measurable? And then I would probably use one other language just to reduce the United Nations standard of 6 official languages into 3 official languages, but really only 1 English, and then the native language, and then the native language that's the most naturally logical of the neighboring country for this book, in terms of setting, just like the global war on terror is a framework that may eventually lead to a world police force. top-Wiki is a framework to try to get everybody on the same page, to give every child an equal chance to be able to collaborate and advance science, so that it's not like, oh, if you're a daughter born in Africa to a mother and you're one of 8 children, you really, you basically never stand a chance to win a Nobel Prize or really make anything of yourself. I'm making a lot of extreme statements, yeah, I choose the current most popular symbols in English and kind of work from there. I really look forward to your leak backs. So many of you are so phenomenally smarter than me. I still can't even really process it sometimes. Just some of your leak-ins, it'll take me a couple weeks to think about how you did it and what you mean and what you may mean. And the dynamics of it, how you're basically measuring what I think of what you think. And I'm like, wow. So, totally humbled. Thank you.